I'm going to show you some accessories that are available for the Sony RX100 II camera. This camera has the Sony multi-accessory shoe on top, which is useful for some of these accessories that I'll be discussing. This first one is a filter adapter made by Sony. It's similar to one that has been made for several years for the predecessor camera and other cameras by a company called LensMate. To use this, you first have to glue on a thin black plastic ring that you see already attached to the lens here. And then you squeeze the catches on the actual filter adapter ring itself and just push it on, and it catches in place on the base ring. Then the filter adapter has a 49mm thread size, so you can screw in any standard 49mm diameter filter. Here I'm going to attach a 49mm infrared filter, which I use for infrared photography with the RX100 II. And of course you can use other filters like polarizers, neutral density filters, close-up lenses, a whole array of filters as long as they're 49mm with that particular adapter. An external battery charger is a very useful accessory because as the camera comes, you can't charge a battery outside the camera. You have to charge it inside the camera. So you can probably find something similar to this, an external generic battery charger that will charge the Sony battery or a generic battery like that one on the top there inside the charger and outside of the camera. And it comes with prongs for standard outlets. And you can just plug that in and it will charge a battery outside the camera. Very useful. This is the Sony electronic viewfinder, which is a fairly expensive item, somewhere in the range of $400 if I recall correctly, maybe more. And you have to remove the little protective cover from the accessory shoe and from the viewfinder's connector. You slide it right into place in the accessory shoe there, and it's a very high quality, high resolution viewfinder which shows you all the same information that appears on the LCD display. You can toggle back and forth between the viewfinder and the LCD screen using that button on the left, or if you have the menu option set, it will automatically switch back and forth as you approach the viewfinder with your head. It will sense that your head is there and it will turn on the viewfinder, turn off the LCD screen. And you can flip up the viewfinder 90 degrees to use it as a waist level or right angle viewfinder for low angle shots. So even though it's expensive, it's very lightweight, it integrates well with the camera, and it is an excellent quality viewfinder which lets you view the scene without daylight washing out the screen. You can also use optical viewfinders if you can just find one with a focal length that you want to use. Here I am using a Voigtlander 28mm optical viewfinder. You can find others from various brands in 35mm, 50mm focal lengths. Then of course you're limited to that one particular focal length, but this camera has a step zoom option, so you can make sure that you set the lens to that particular focal length and then fire away using the optical viewfinder if you prefer that method of shooting up against your forehead and viewing through a nice bright clear optical piece of glass. The next item here is called the Hood Loop, made by a company called Hoodman. There's information at hoodmanusa.com. This is a lightweight rubberized hood that fits up nicely against the LCD display and of course shelters it nicely from the daylight and gives you a magnified view through its built-in eyepiece lens there. It's a very nice, clear, sheltered view, almost like what you would get from the electronic viewfinder, but of course it's not electronic itself, it's just showing you the LCD display. Here's another option which is kind of nice, very lightweight and easy to carry around and install. This is called the Clear Viewer. You can check clearviewer.com for more information. It just slides right into the accessory shoe. Its built-in magnifying lens folds down and gives you a nice clear view of the LCD display. It doesn't give you as much shadow or sheltering as some of those other options do, but it's very lightweight, and you do get a very clear magnified view of the LCD screen. So it's quite a useful option. This is the Sony wired remote control, which is able to be used with this camera, because this model of the camera comes with a multi-port terminal where you can plug in the remote control's cable. See, there are two cables that come with the remote. The one on the left there is for use with camcorders and maybe some other models of camera, but not with this camera. You use the one on the right with the RX100 II. You plug this larger end of the cable into the remote control, and the other end is the multi-port sized jack that you plug into the multi-port terminal on the right side of the camera, the upper one of the two ports. Plug that in, and then you have a very useful wired remote control with which you can turn the camera on and off. You can trigger the shutter release button, and you can, well, trigger the shutter release using the remote controls button, I guess I should say. And you can lock down the shutter release with the remote control for long time exposures or bulb exposures. And you can start and stop videos with the red button there also. So it's a very useful wired remote. This item is probably one that not as many people will want to get because it's expensive and bulky, but if you have a particular need for it, it can be very useful. This is an LCD display, an external HDMI screen, which plugs in to the HDMI port on the camera. You have to get your own cable because the one that comes with the screen has the wrong size connector. You need a mini HDMI connector on the camera and a standard HDMI connector on the LCD screen end. Then it comes with an attachment that lets it slide right into the accessory port and attach fairly firmly. It's a little bit heavy and a little bit kind of top heavy for the camera, but if you're careful with it or have it on a tripod, you should be fine. You do have to get a battery. The battery does not come with the screen, so there is the Sony battery, which is another expense, but I happen to have a battery from another camera, so that wasn't so much of a problem. It's a very good quality small screen, and here's one really great feature is that it will swivel around 180 degrees so you can see what's going on in front of the camera, which you can't ordinarily do. So that's good for self-portraits or any other situation in which you're wanting to be in front of the camera while you're operating the camera. The LCD screen also comes with a hood that flips open very easily and just quickly attaches to the screen so you can have it in shade and sheltered from the daylight when you're shooting or when you're playing back video or still images with on the screen. Here is the last item, which is the Sony external microphone. This one, also like the electronic viewfinder, it takes full advantage of Sony's multi-accessory shoe. So it gets its power from the multi-accessory shoe and slides right in there, screws in to lock tight. It gives you probably a certain amount of added quality for recording sound for your videos. The built-in microphone, I think, does a very good job, but this one probably gives you some better low frequency and maybe a little bit more sensitivity. The two parts of the microphone will separate up to 120 degrees as shown there. So you get a little bit more of a stereo effect if you need it. And so that is a very lightweight accessory that fits very well with the camera. It also comes with a windscreen, which I will show you in a few seconds here, that just, there it is. It just has elastic built into it, and you can just slide it on and it will attach to the microphone to reduce the sounds from wind noise. So those are the accessories that are available, or of course there's many others I didn't talk about, like flash cases and others. There's a guidebook coming in October from White Knight Press.